Inside struggle. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 1400 of our All About You, not our All About You, of What You Up To Now. Documenting the journey and sharing my experience when it comes to offline and online businesses. And originally, I started doing this to keep track of and to journal, given that I have vision challenges, to journal and keep track of what I'm doing as I made the transition from the offline brick and mortar corporate world to the online world. Over a quarter century in corporate America, while simultaneously growing, building, and owning businesses in at least 27 different industries. So for 48 years, I have owned and operated different businesses, and it's more than that now, but I've kind of lost track as I've done things online primarily since 2017. And in 2020 and 2021 and beyond, I'll do both online and offline things because I miss the offline world. I miss the direct contact and action, especially during 2020 and 2021. I've missed the human connection that comes along with, and of course we're connected digitally and remotely via the internet, but it's not the same thing as being face to face with people and seeing them and working with them and building relationships with them. It's hard to describe. Anyway, our No Nonsense November is winding down, and today we talked about, if I do this again, No Nonsense November or any version of it, I'll think about it from a different perspective. And I didn't think of it till the end of the challenge, or not, it's not a challenge, till the end of the sharing in No Nonsense November of lessons learned. What if I could only tell my granddaughters 30 things? What would be the, for some reason I couldn't talk or I couldn't communicate or I died, and what would be the 30 most important things that I would want my granddaughters to know after I was gone or when I'm gone? And I try to teach them it now while I'm still here, but the life and lessons learned and things. But what would I want them to know and how would I want them to feel? And what would be the most important things for them to have knowledge of without having to actually necessarily personally experience it through trial and error? I think I would take that approach to answering that question. And I really didn't do it until, I want to say yesterday, day 28, day 27, I thought about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have done this from my granddaughter's perspectives. What would I want them to know? And so day 27, 20 wasn't one of those. I had gotten that from another idea, which is kind of what happened. Is every morning I would wake up and I'd think about, okay, what is a big life lesson learned that I want to share with everybody? And that's how I did the first 27. And then I came up with 28, 29, and 30 are like, okay, these are the 3 things that I'd add to this list that I want to make sure that the girls know. So I would take that perspective next time and say, okay, well, what really are the 30 most important lessons that I can share that I've learned over my 6+ decades here on the planet? So today's was about inside, in terms of everything we need is already inside of us, and that everything is an inside job first, right? Everything begins with an idea, and everything begins with our believing that we have the ability to do, be, and have whatever we want. And so we talked about that today. And that we are all enough. That, the world, and I watched this with my granddaughters, and I saw it with my kids, but I wasn't observing from the same perspective I'm observing with my granddaughters. I watched how the world just takes the joy and love and creativity and imagination out of our children, how the school system does that, how we're made to think a certain way and believe certain things, even if they're absolutely not true. And it saddens me. So I think that's why I thought about okay, what do I really want my granddaughters to know, and how am I going to make sure I leave that for them? So when I'm not available to impact their lives, the information still is available for them. So I'm working on how I could go about doing that and how I will do that, because I guarantee I will do that. Our money idiom, we're down to the last 2 money idioms for the month of November. So we did No Nonsense November instead of the Get Up and Go challenge, which takes off again on December 1st, which is Wednesday, which I haven't even changed the headers or anything on the group and the pages. I need to go ahead and do that like today or tomorrow, right? And I really haven't invited people to that. It's sort of like if you've got the inside scoop and you know about it, then you can come and you can join that free for a couple of reasons. Number one, next year I may very well do the Get Up and Go challenge, a 30-day challenge, but I might start charging for it. Number one, what people pay for, what they invest in, especially themselves, they pay attention to. I find when I love sharing my information, sharing everything for free. But what I'm finding is people don't commit. They don't participate. They don't take it seriously if they're not invested in it. I've seen that time and time again in different coaching programs that I've been a participant in, as well as a leader of. Mastermind groups, same thing. We all commit for different reasons at different times to different things. And I think it's getting to the point where, especially with annual challenges, I think the annual challenge is going to change next year too. With annual challenges and 30-day challenges, I love doing them, right? They're my thing. But I also know that I want to do them with people that love doing them, not just people that pop in here and there for a day and we never see or talk to them again. So money idioms today was to struggle to make ends meet. And it was fun for me to struggle to make the ends of this string meet to describe. It's like threading a needle for me. There we go. There's certain things, given my necessity of magnifying glasses and expanding and blowing things up in order to see them, that I just don't do and don't participate in anymore. But struggle to make ends meet is a good idiom, especially given the COVID-19 situation. Millions of people that have never in their life before had any challenges making ends meet, meaning earning enough money to cover their bills, to live on every month, to have enough food to eat, to be able to make their house payments, their car payments, their rent, etc. Millions and millions of people in 2020 and into 2021, due to the employment situation, the not quarantines, but mandates, the random mandates that were created by the media and by the CDC and the government for political reasons, not really for health reasons, negatively impacted millions and millions of people and caused them to struggle to make ends meet. Many for the first time in their entire lives. Over my lifetime, haven't struggled very often to make ends meet, but there have been times that I have, and I don't usually share those. I don't usually talk about those because they didn't feel very good. They were scary. They made me feel terrible, like a failure. They made me feel bad. And then there were times when I was struggling to make ends meet during huge growth phases in my businesses. And those didn't feel good either. Wondering if you're going to make payroll because you've got a huge order of raw materials that you've had to pay for before payroll. Those are not good feelings. Those are ones that stress you out, cause health challenges, cause all kinds of stress and negativity that doesn't really work out or help any of us. We talked in Supersize Your Business and our money idiom about ways to combat and what to do when you need to make ends meet. And mostly the first thing we need to do is be really honest with what our situation is. What's our current situation? What do we want it to be? Or what do we need it to be? And then as soon as we look at that and allow ourselves to look at it rationally, we realize it's usually not as big a gap as we think. So the first thing we do is we look at it and we realize we thought the gap was this big and it's really only this big. And that we can totally handle by doing some creative things, by problem solving and finding different ways to make and prioritize what has to happen at certain times, So the problem is usually never as big as we think the problem is if we're being honest with ourselves. And when we switch out of focusing on the problem to focusing on solutions, all of a sudden those solutions appear kind of like dominoes and clockwork. And before we know it, we're not struggling at all anymore. We're just doing our thing, just like we do all the time, building and growing and supersizing our business, and building and growing and supersizing our life, and making our life work and making ends meet. You know what? Sometimes we need to ask for help. Sometimes we need to ask for other people's ideas or thoughts on how to solve problems. Whatever we need to do, we need to be open and willing to do that to make sure that we do make ends meet. I actually had to Google our annual challenge today, do one thing every day that centers us, is what we're doing for our annual challenge. And I had to Google it because I knew kind of what the word meant, but I wanted to be sure before I was sharing it with other people. And it was kindness expiates a multitude of sins. This was by Anonymous, so we don't know who said it, but expiate means to atone for guilt or sin, or to show that you're sorry for bad behavior. Well, how many of us haven't ever had bad behavior that we need to show we're sorry for? So we're sharing today, not a sin necessarily, but some bad behavior that we're making up for. And how do we use kindness, and what do we do to make up for that bad behavior? Have you ever gotten someone a gift because you said something that hurt their feelings? Have you ever given anyone flowers to make up for a mistake or a missed opportunity or a late date or something? Of course, we all find ways to be kind, to make up for when we make a mistake or behave badly. And we're human, so guess what? All of us at some time behave badly. There are a few exceptions to the never made a mistake rule and never been less than kind or happy. There are people, but guess what? They're the very, 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 very small minority of this earth that are absolutely positively kind all the time and have never made a mistake, have never used a harsh word, etc. Those people are definitely the minority and the exception. We all emulate them, but it is, being human means that we have a whole range of emotions and a whole range of behaviors given different situations. And I think during the last couple of years, I think some people's really bad behavior has come to the surface. And I think out of desperation and manipulation, people are more willing to behave in ways that are unlike them, that cross their own personal line of, hey, this is the line in the sand that I don't cross. This is behavior I accept for myself. This is behavior I will not accept for myself. And I guess in most of the areas of my life, I've drawn that line in the sand. I realize it's only my line in the sand. My kids have different lines. My ex has different lines. Every other person on the planet can draw their line wherever they want. I've drawn mine, and for different areas and aspects of my life, I won't go below that line. Now, there are some areas and aspects in my life when I thought there was my line in the sand, but the world changed and I changed, and my line moved and changed. And so it's up to us to decide what is and isn't for us, what does feel good for us and what doesn't feel good for us. What's right or wrong for us is, again, an inside job. It's only for you to decide what is right or wrong for you. And I decide based on, how does it make me feel? If it makes me feel yucky or negative or bad or horrid or any of those negative feelings, obviously whatever's going on is not right for me at the time. It doesn't matter what it is. That is my clear indicator that it isn't right for me because I don't feel good about it. If I feel good about it, then that's an indicator, maybe not super clear, that it's probably right for me and I should move toward that. Simple rule of thumb. I don't know if I talked about that. Let me see if on my list of 30, because that's one I definitely want to share with my grandkids. I guess you decide what everything means. I don't know. I'm not sure if I was super clear on that. I will make sure I'm clear on that. Anyway, that's it. Any questions, hit me up. Any help with respect to business, online or off, questions, and you feel like you're stuck and you don't know who to ask, please don't stay there. Just ask me. And again, if I don't know the answer, I will hook you up with the person that can or does, or help you know what the next thing is that you need to do, because none of us should ever be stuck or frozen in one spot because we always know what to do. Sometimes we just need to bounce it off somebody that's a neutral third party, and I'm glad to be that neutral third party for you, or that neutral second party for you if you don't know who to ask. And there's one of the biggest lessons I had to learn, and I don't think I did share that, and that would be my 31, I guess, if I was doing 31 days. I'm going to write it down right now as soon as I find a pen, and I did not, that was not one of the days. And I'm going to say that might be our bonus one, and that is to ask. Ask for help. Ask for what you need. If you don't ask, the answer is always no, and that's just the way it is. If you don't ask, you don't get the opportunity. If you don't open up and go for and ask for what you want, you'll never get it, because nobody knows what you want. Nobody's inside your head. I've yet to meet any mind readers. So if you've met one, please share in the comments below, because I'd love to meet a mind reader. But so far I haven't met one. And I think that means that we need to communicate with other people. All right. Questions, ask. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow.